This is Dave Michaels from Talking Points, and today we're going to talk about Zoom Contact Center. I got two guests here on this live stream. I've got Kentis Gopalla and Scott Brown. Let's go ahead and bring them into the stream. There's one, there's two. Welcome to this live stream. We can hear you both okay?
All right, yeah, awesome.
All right,
good to see you, Dave.
Good.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Great to be here.
Before we get into the questions, I got some questions for you. We're going to learn some more about Zoom Contact Center. Before we get into that, just a brief introduction. Ken, head of ecosystem, Zoom Contact Center and Zoom Phone. Is that one ecosystem or two ecosystems?
It's a one ecosystem of partners across Zoom. So we've expanded for our CX portfolio. So we have Zoom Contact Center, Zoom Phone, Zoom Virtual Agent, Zoom IQ for Sales. So it's our full suite. All
right, and you've been at Zoom for a while, right?
A little over a year now. Yes, okay, I joined just before we launched. Yeah.
Okay, I want to because I haven't seen that jacket before, so I wasn't sure if that was an old one or a new one. Okay, it's a new one apparently. All right, and then we've got Scott, head of Zoom Contact Center. It's we'll be clear here. It's called Zoom Contact Center, not Zoom CCaaS.
Well, it's a whole portfolio, Dave. So it's the CX portfolio, as Kentis described it. But yeah, we look after sales and go to market for the portfolio and partner with Kentis, and been here about 11 months. I don't have a jacket, however, so I'm a little bit upset.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the envy of a lot of people in this live stream.
I agree.
Okay, so let's get into the first questions. I'm glad that you clarified contact center versus the whole CX part, because the first question actually is indeed around the ecosystem here. You guys made some announcements at Enterprise Connect around WFO, WEM, WFM, I don't WKRP, whatever, one of those things. What did you actually announce? Could you please clarify? Who's going to go?
Yeah, I can talk about that, Dave. So we announced WEM, so our suite of product, workforce engagement management. So when you think about how the product or the industry has evolved, the industry started with workforce management, which is just forecasting, scheduling, then started looking at workforce optimization, which is really looking at quality management and scorecarding, etc. And now the industry is looking at workforce engagement. It's how do you deliver a positive experience for the employees? And at Zoom, we think we can do that well with delivering happiness for employees in general. So what we announced is workforce engagement management. Initially, there are two products as part of this suite. So we announced workforce management and quality management. So these are the two products that we're starting with.
That's a pretty consistent definition of WEM, right? It's
absolutely.
These you announced that you are building or that you released the product?
So we announced that we were building. We are starting beta actually this week. So we're onboarding some customers for beta, and we are targeting to go GA July of this year.
Okay, and so you're in beta, and so that means you've got a select number of clients that are using this WEM product now. Are they all on Zoom Contact Center, or is this suitable for other contact centers as well?
Yeah, it's suitable for any contact center, and I'm gonna let Scott talk to that.
Yeah, I was like a horse trying to get out of the barn on that one. Yeah, Dave, on the positioning of WEM, we're actually drafting behind what we've done on Zoom Virtual Agent. So if you think about our virtual agent capabilities, it's actually a standalone offer that we have, whether you use Contact Center from Zoom or not. And we'll be following that same path with WEM and that suite of capabilities. So some of the early beta customers are actually partners with us on the Contact Center side. Others are not. So we want to make sure that the capabilities are resident and present for customers of all disciplines in terms of whatever they're using as their background and underlying CCaaS.
Okay. So there was a bunch of excitement and announcements around this, and then totally separate at like a different hallway or something at Enterprise Connect, there was a bunch of excitement and conversation around Zoom IQ. And I just assumed when I first heard Zoom IQ that it was really about contact center, but it was really about meetings. And so my question is, does the Zoom IQ stuff that you announced, does that somehow extend to the contact center, or will it extend to the contact center, Where are we at with that?
I can talk a bit.
Actually, why don't you one of you first clarify what Zoom IQ is?
Yeah. Do you want to do that, Scott?
I'd be happy to. So Dave, Zoom IQ for sales was the original moniker in terms of what the use case that we were accommodating for, and that
was tied to Zoom Phone, was it?
No, it was a standalone product. It was IQ for sales, and it was really around, how do you optimize your sales efforts, both in terms of inbound, outbound, and the meetings that you're having. So how do you actually improve the productivity of your sales reps? Now, I'll pause there and say, but because of line capabilities and technology and things like theme analysis and how do you actually monitor and measure word count, how do you manage and monitor sentiment, et cetera, those kind of core capabilities are replicable and certainly applicable inside the contact center space as well. So when we think about things like QA and QM and scorecarding and how to make sure you're coaching your reps, whether they're inbound or outbound reps, it's very similar in a contact setting. So essentially, we're taking the goodness of sales IQ, the underlying capabilities and core technology, and then adopting them into the use case of contact center.
So is that coming, or is that available, or where are we with that?
So similar vein. So yeah, Sales IQ is available today with quality management. That's part of a WEM suite. So that's also, we're starting beta on that, and it will be the same timeline where we go GA in July.
Okay, and then what you announced at Enterprise Connect was the Zoom IQ for meetings. Is that beta or is that available, or maybe you don't know?
That's available. Zoom
available.
IQ for sales. Okay. That's available.
Yeah,
what
so
we also announced.
Conversations. Yeah. I was trying to figure out how they were linking together.
Right. So the way we are thinking about IQ is our AI capabilities. So what you will see is IQ will be embedded in several products. So it's not about just IQ for sales, but IQ is becoming our AI platform capabilities. And you'll start seeing that in other products, starting with contact center, even with Zoom Virtual Agent, we are adding capabilities. The way we are thinking about AI generally at Zoom is to have a federated approach. So you will see that Zoom IQ is that layer that will be able to orchestrate or federate multiple models, AI models or ML models from different parties.
I like that word, federate. That's don't hear that a lot with these AI conversations. That's good. Okay, so the next question here, you're not allowed to give me the easy answer. Okay, the next question is what makes a contact center a perfect candidate for Zoom? The easy answer is every contact center. You're not allowed to say that one. I'm not asking you who you support or what you will support or who you will sell to. I'm asking you what makes a candidate perfect for Zoom. When you see this candidate on paper and you've had your first conversation, whatever, what makes you say this is a perfect candidate for Zoom Contact Center?
Yeah, I would say, Dave, it's really more of a philosophical and a positioning perspective, right? So when we speak with customers around the core capabilities and what they're trying to accomplish, the exciting conversations for us are how do we work with them to reimagine what their customer experiences could be. So it's not necessarily, are you omni-channel? Where are you available globally? Yes, we have those conversations, but it's really a willingness from a customer perspective to lean in, really kind of get down and reinvent what they're trying to accomplish. How do we measure it? How do we measure success? And not just kind of repeating what they may have or replicating what they may have today. So it's really, again, I'll restate, more of a willingness to kind of reimagine, reinvent, and just free your mind about the art of the possible and what we can accomplish together.
Kentis, you got a better answer?
Dave, that was a good answer. I don't know why you're asking.
Yeah, that was perfect. Nothing to add.
All right. We'll take that. So along those lines, then, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you guys to get defensive about this because sometimes you get pigeonholed in the video category. But I want to ask you about video in the contact center. And I know that's a core feature of your, well, maybe not a core feature, but an initial feature of your offering. Is video in the contact center real? Are people actually using it? And if you don't care about video, is Zoom still a good fit?
So to answer your first question, yes, video is a first-class modality and built into our contact center capabilities, and it was from the start. I think there's a couple of different use cases that we found interesting or customers have brought to us that they found interesting, and that is, in certain circumstances, and I'll use maybe a high-touch customer scenario. many of the customers that we're working with have, a certain use case that ultimately ends up in 75 or 80% of a video experience. Now, they're not starting there. They're starting with a phone call, they're starting with a chat, and ultimately they're ending up scheduling a meeting to be able to help that customer or help that prospect out. What we're offering, though, is how do you actually enable both video as an escalation path? So, hey, I'm starting on a phone call. If we're going to video anyway, let's just escalate to video within that same context. And or we actually have queues and workloads that are specifically set up for video. Now, that's a bi-directional video capability, Dave. But again, customers can opt out of the video, of course. There's no, you don't have to necessarily have your video enabled if you're speaking to an agent or speaking to a representative. And similarly, many of our customers think of, video enablement almost as a skill. So when you think about a skills-based routing mechanism, video is and could be one of those based upon, where you're located, bandwidth, et cetera. So a lot of factors. So yes, high touch scenarios, customers are using video. And the other one is actually a video enabled waiting room experience, which is just a kind of a feature of what we're doing. So now, essentially if you're on a video enabled device and you're on hold, instead of, maybe yacht music or looking at a static screen, you have the ability to actually render video back into that waiting room experience for the purposes of, education, entertainment, et cetera.
Well, I'm actually really excited about this. I've been predicting this is the year of video in the contact center for about 10 years now, and I'm bound to be right one of these years. And I really appreciate the way you presented that. I could say that I've had two recent experiences. I don't know what brand contact center they were using. I've had two recent experiences where they did indeed use video. They were both small businesses, and video was a great way to resolve the issue that I had when I called, and it worked really nicely. And I keep wondering why this hasn't gone more mainstream. So maybe that's what you meant earlier by your perfect customer is one who reimagines the way things can be as opposed to the way things are. So back to the WEM and CCaaS conversation. You said that the WEM can be purchased separately or work with separate contact centers. Obviously, the Zoom contact center can be purchased separately without the WEM. I assume there's a bundle that includes both, or are you looking at these as two separate TAMs or one TAM, or how are you approaching this as a go-to-market?
Yeah, it's actually a consolidated TAM. So when we think about the view of where the industry's going, obviously we're all rallying around kind of that centralized TAM as we see more convergence both in terms of technologies as well as business processes. But for us, really it's around making sure that the customer has as much flexibility as humanly possible. So essentially, we have dedicated engineering and product management focus on workforce engagement management. We have dedicated product management and engineering focus on contact center. We feel like, the solutions when they're deployed together are outstanding, but, as separate, entities that are equally outstanding. So really it's more around the customer and where they are in their buying cycle and contracts and commercial arrangements, and how can we actually step in and help out immediately without having to have the entire stack under management.
Yeah, and I was also add to that, in addition that we have our full suite of product in the CX space, we also have an open platform, and we have a rich ecosystem of partners. So although we've built our workforce engagement management suite, we also have partners like Verint and Calabrio who are partners with us very closely. So again, it's to give customers choice. Like contact center will work with Verint, will work with Calabrio, and similarly, our WEM suite could work with any other CCaaS platform.
But neither one of these require meetings necessarily, right? And because some of your products, I think Zoom Phone, unless you changed it, could only be purchased if you had meetings or had to be bundled with meetings. But these products are separate.
That is correct. Sure. We have announced the availability of all of these elements as separate components, and there's no dependency on a meetings relationship, Dave. That's correct.
That's okay. Well, let's talk about we haven't really talked much about Zoom Phone here. So are you, there's a big debate in the industry about CCaaS pure plays versus CCaaS and UCaaS plays. Where are you on this debate? And what's your position on this?
Zoom Phone for us has been, an amazing learning experience. And I think, during the most recent Enterprise Connect, the numbers were shared over, 5.5 million current users and subscribers of Zoom Phone, continuing to grow. And that particular segment for us is quite interesting because it does provide much more so of a, what I'll call a cohesive experience. And when you combine it with CCaaS, from our perspective and based upon, again, customer guidance and direction, they're looking for a way to actually bring those kind of estates together for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's easier to manage and it's oftentimes more economical. But if you think about it from a customer experience, the ability to actually move media, whether it's a chat, voicemail, video experience, from a traditional contact center environment into for example, a knowledge worker to resolve an issue or answer a question, that needs to be seamless and it needs to be accounted for as a single transaction. And oftentimes that's really hard to do. So our perspective in terms of, I'll use Zoom Phone as an example because you have it up here. For us to be able to take a phone call and move it into a knowledge worker as an example, or move it into a retail facility, if that customer's on Zoom Phone, for us, I'll use an old term, it's an on-net transaction, right?
Sure.
There is no cost. We just move it from one stack to the next, by the same way of workflow. So that's one of the benefits is the economical piece, but more so it's a better experience because you don't have the stops and starts. You have one seamless experience to blend those together.
All right.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think the contact center industry has always been focused on first contact resolution. I think this is a way for us to bring that to bear. Is once you are talking to an agent, is how do you bring in all the experts using Zoom Phone in the back office? How do you bring that to help resolve an issue quickly?
So on the UCaaS plus CCaaS debate versus CCaaS debate, you're on any way you want it. We got it. Nobody puts Zoom in a corner is what you're saying.
That's
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those were my questions. I know that there's probably some people out there that have more questions, so I'll put up your URL that I grabbed off of the web for the contact center stuff. I think it's pretty exciting. It's amazing how far you've come and how quickly you've come with this offering. Thanks for answering my questions, and thanks for and good luck with everything you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Dave.
It's great to be here. Thanks for hosting us. Appreciate it.